Hello, everybody. This is Carol Maletta. Welcome to the Parenting 411 podcast, where we share information parents need from sources they can trust. Love is a wonderful thing. Love is a living thing, and it needs care and tending. You can't just tell someone you love them or you're committed to them and not show it again and again. Yet our love life is just a slice of our lives. There's a lot going on. There's school, there's work, there's extended family, there are friends, our parents, grandparents, and there are our children. You start to see how hard it can be to make time for love in living, breathing form. Today, Kim De Silva is going to join me to talk about how she helps couples strengthen their relationships. And one tool she advocates is date night. We're going to talk about that along with other tips for parents hoping to build strong, healthy connections with their spouses and parenting partners. Welcome, Kim De Silva.
Thank you, Carol. It's lovely to be here.
Yes. And we're talking about a very important topic, relationships, and that's the foundation for the household when you've got kids. Very important.
It is. And that's actually one of the reasons I do what I do. It's to help those moms, especially who want to create those strong, supportive foundations for their children.
Mm-hmm. Because, we see so very often that parents they focus on the children. I mean, they had romance and love in the beginning and they immediately shift to the children. It is a wonderful thing that you care about the children and you want to make sure they have all that they need, but you're doing them a big favor if you nurture your relationship because it's part of the support system and the security that they feel. They can't articulate that, but it means a lot to them. And it's very reassuring to them that their parents get along, work together, love each other. It's very important.
Very much so. Actually, a couple months ago, I was scrolling through Facebook, as you do sometimes, and I was in this relationship group, and a person posted that in her experience, her life, she put God first, then her marriage, then her children. And so you see all of the comments coming in, those who were in agreement, those who were ambivalent to it. And then there was this one gentleman who posted, well, just think how your children would feel that, they're number 3 on your list. And I thought to myself, I think perhaps that gentleman has missed the point. Right. That her children weren't number 3 on her list. She wasn't saying that there were these 2 people or entities that were greater than her children. Mm-hmm. But for her, creating the ideal foundation for her children began with her creator and then her marriage. And I often think, as you just said, for many people, that relationship is a foundation. It's also a pattern that they want to create for their children. Something something positive that they can model. It's not always possible. People come from very different circumstances, but where it is possible, then yes, of course, you want your children to grow up in seeing a functional, healthy relationship so that they themselves can form part of functional, healthy relationships later on.
Yes, absolutely. I'll never forget, and this is really way back, I guess I'm dating myself, when Oprah still had her talk show. And so there was a woman on the show, and she said that her husband came before her children. And I guess it's just the way she said it. They saw it the same way that gentleman did too. Like, the children are at the bottom of the list. You should put your children first. They're the most important and all of that. But that's what she was trying to say. And people, they really had a problem on the show with her saying that. And I guess maybe it was semantics, but what she was really getting at was, her husband, that relationship is important. That's the foundation for the household. So she has to pay attention to that. So.
Yeah. And do you know empty nest rates of divorce among empty nesters are going up?
Mhm.
Precisely because, there's this emphasis on raising the children and then that lack of connection between the partners. And then when the children are no longer there, well, they were the glue that held the relationship together. And how was that being fair to the children
Right.
in that sense? You gave them that responsibility of holding you together. Well, that's not fair to them either.
Right,
So,
right. You're absolutely right there. They call them gray divorces now. Those
mm,
divorces at that point in life. Yeah, they certainly are up, and hopefully, uh, couples who are in the throes of raising their children right now will learn from that. I mean, we'll learn how important it is to stay connected to your partner. It really makes things easier too when you're going through the different transitions, the teen years, and all of that. If you're a unit and you like each other and you're
yes.
working together, so that's great. So for those parents out there that are just trying to keep their heads above water, they've got their kids, and they're like, now you date night. Now you want to talk about what's something else I need to be trying to fit in. Talk about what date night is and why you're such a strong advocate for it.
Okay. So let me first of all say what date night is not. And it is not a checklist item.
Mhm.
Although I do joke, I have a checklist for date night, but the date night itself is not a checklist item. It is meant to create a unique and special memory that you can add to what I call your cherished memory bank. So, yes, it's going to take work. Yes, it's going to take effort. And yes, you're going to have to find the time somewhere in that wide, big to-do list of things that just pile up on us. But what this date night is meant to do is to trigger certain things. One, that memory of what it was like in the beginning with our partners. Because what happens is after all of these years, we fall into a complacency zone. I don't even call it comfort zone because yes, we want to have a certain level of comfort in our relationships. I mean, we want to wake up some mornings feeling really not great, not looking our best and just be like, yeah, you love me anyway. Deal with it today.
Mhm. Mhm.
We've earned that right. So
Mhm.
great. But the idea of being complacent and forgetting to appreciate each other, that's the danger zone. They're not
Mhm.
saying thank you, they're not giving compliments, they're not acknowledging that we are sharing a life with somebody that we do love and that there are great qualities of that person that we want to cherish. So date night takes us back to that time when all we wanted to focus on was the good aspects of that person. And all we wanted them to see in us were our best aspects as well. Also, in those days, we weren't guaranteed there would be a second date or a third date or a fourth date, and we wanted to have that. So that little bit of uncertainty made us extra interested. It gave us extra motivation, extra incitement. And that, again, is what we want. We flirted. The thing is, it never goes out of style to flirt with your partner. It doesn't matter. 2 weeks, 20 years, 30 years, flirting is still fun.
Mhm.
Flirting still lets the other person know, I am interested in you. I am attracted to you because attraction is the basis of a romantic relationship in the sense that we can chat with our girlfriends. We can have a good time with other people. We can connect with other people, but there's generally only one person that we will be intimate with.
Mhm.
And that physical intimacy comes out of the attraction. So that's where we spend time with our romantic partner. So the date night is meant to trigger all of this.
Mhm.
And that's putting a lot of responsibility on this date night, right? But the and date night then becomes a symbol for something. It becomes a symbol for that attraction, for that appreciation, for the fun in our relationships. For example, I was speaking to a lady just last week. She told me she's knocking on 60.
Mm.
She's like, but at my age, I still want to have fun. I still want to have fun with my husband. I'm like, well, that's good. She's like, and we have fun.
Okay.
Great. But for her, she said, part of feeling young and feeling alive and feeling vibrant in her relationship was that no, they didn't think of themselves as old. They didn't think of themselves as stuck in a pattern. They didn't think of themselves as stuck in their ways. They were still excited to see each other. They were still having fun together.
Mm-hmm.
These are all important foundations for a happy marriage, because a happy marriage, a healthy marriage, needs that element of lightness.
Mm-hmm.
If we treat this relationship as something that's all about work, and yes, it does take work to stay in that healthy, happy environment,
Mm-hmm.
but remember the fun too. And that's what the date night is all about. Remember that original spark.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the date night is for.
We'll be right back after this. You love your kids. You do your very best for them. But sometimes it feels like it's just not enough. And you're so sure you're the only one who feels this way. The truth is, you're not alone. It is also true that there are some things you're doing quite right. And there's a community who would love to exchange ideas with you. I'm Carol Maletta, creator of the Parenting 411, a portal for parents where I share information parents need through webinars and masterclasses. And not only that, the parents there support each other on this amazing journey in the Parenting 411 community group on Facebook. I can't wait to meet you in the community. And we're back with the Parenting 411. So, how often should couples have date night?
All right. So now it depends on the couple. It depends on their schedules, because really what we are talking about here is going to take a little bit of time to plan depending on what your childcare arrangements are. Now, for example, my husband and I, we are fairly fortunate. My parents don't live that far away from us, but even so, it is difficult during the school term. We have three boys who are school age and homework assignments and extracurricular activities. I work, my husband works, I have my own business. So it's just where. But every vacation period, and we get 3 vacation periods, my kids spend a few days with my parents. And it's like we just have date weekend or date week. So for us, it's like, we may not get to go out, even once a month, but when those children are away, we do all the things we want to do that we can't do when we don't have them.
Okay.
For some couples, it might be you have to spend your date day when your children are at school. For those who are enrolled in a school away from home. What I mean, not being homeschooled. So great. Again, don't get bogged down by this idea of it has to be a nighttime activity. It can be in the middle of the day. I know another couple, they plan spa days around the children's time when they know for sure they don't have to go anywhere near the children's school for a few hours. Like, great. And they drive an hour away from home, they go have their spa day, then they come back and they're all relaxed and they've had their wonderful day together. So yes, timing is important. People with very young children, for example, breastfeeding mothers. Now, one of the things I recommend there is, if it is possible, you plan your date night at home. Now, what you do, chances are you have young children who will have an early-ish bedtime. Even if that schedule can sometimes be kind of out of sync. And I mean, with young children, how it goes. You never can tell what can happen. But for the most part, you're going to get a couple hours when they're down. Now, you have to make it a priority. You have to not be sleepy. That's the other thing. You kind of have to prep yourself. And this is where it becomes important to set your date. Decide that this is happening. Of course, life happens, but don't let that throw you off. Don't say, well, the last time we planned to do this, Adam woke up sick at 2 a.m. in the morning. No, that was last time. Let's look at what's happening today. So if you decide, okay, today is the 10th of October, and I'm pulling dates out of the air, right? So today's the 10th of October, and I know on the 21st, we have a clear night. Well, make up your mind on the 21st, something is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And you make your plans around that. And if it falls through, okay, we'll try it again. Don't give up on it.
Mm-hmm.
And set that intention, set that time aside, decide you're going to be up that night. If you have to drink 2 cups of coffee, drink the 2 cups of coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Plan a picnic at home. Choose your favorite movie. But of course, it's not just to sit down and watch the movie. You cuddle up on a blanket, have your favorite snacks nearby, hold hands, do something that maybe you wouldn't do in the cinema, but make sure you're touching, make sure you're seeing, make sure this is a movie that you both enjoy, make sure that there are, other things around that trigger good memories. Because the date night, as I said, it doesn't have to fit into a box. It doesn't have to be dinner and a movie. And that's the other thing I recommend. When couples are in a state where maybe they're not connecting, maybe conversations have been difficult, have been tense, do not go to dinner and sit for 2 hours staring at each other, wondering, what are we supposed to talk about?
Mm-hmm.
No, do something more active. So go for a walk. That changing scenery is going to give you things to talk about. You don't necessarily have to watch each other full on, which for some couples is a difficult thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
So you have your peripheral vision, try to hold hands, you're getting some physical exercise. So you're getting you're getting the blood moving, you're getting some endorphins flowing. That's all good as well. Go for a drive. Again, the idea of the changing scenery, adding to conversations, not having to stare directly at each other. And then also the changing scenery puts your mind a little bit on higher alert, because you're not because of that changing view, your brain is a bit more focused on what is happening. You're more in the present, and that's also helping you anchor the memory as well. You want to be very present.
Now, so I'm glad that you mentioned the part about perhaps date night being in your home, or watching a movie or something like that, but you still put a little effort to make it like an event, because I think that if parents believe that date night has to be really set up and creative and all of that, then they won't get to do it.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you explained that, and that, there is a way, some date nights may be more extravagant than others, but there is a way to commit to, say, having some sort of connection like that once a week, like some sort of experience that you're going to have once a week. I mean, the children go to bed at some point. So, even if you can plan a couple of hours and just plan that you're going to order in some pizza or whatever snack or dessert you like, and you're going to sit down and watch the NBA basketball game, something together. But it's just something that you both enjoy, but still setting aside that time. I think that's good, because it reminds me a bit about self-care, why some people don't allow for self-care in their life, because they think it has to be this extravagant thing that's away, a spa day, which of course you need an appointment, and then, all of these other things, when it's really about taking care of yourself, taking time to honor yourself and what you need in the moment. And so I think date night is almost like self-care for relationships even.
It is, exactly. And as you pointed out, it can be something small, just take the time. I keep saying I have to work on the title of this, right? My husband and I have these 5-minute garbage walk dates, which I know the title really is really bad.
Explain.
We live in this townhouse complex, and we live at one end of the townhouse, and the garbage area is all the way at the other end. So it's like literally walking down the street to get
Okay.
to put the garbage out. And there are some nights like when the if my husband is putting the garbage out at night, there's always one child who's like, well, I want to come for a walk too. So they'll get their shoes on and go outside, or they'll grab a scooter, and it's a chance for them to get out the house and do something.
Mm-hmm.
If we notice there are no children around, he'd be like, come, come, come. They're not there. Let's
Right.
go.
Right.
And we take the garbage, and he quietly closes the door so they don't
Mm-hmm.
hear us exiting the gates. And we have like literally 5 minutes to walk, to
Mm-hmm.
deposit the garbage bag,
Mm-hmm.
and come back home.
Mm-hmm.
And for us, it's almost like it's 5 minutes of escape. And we're not holding hands. I mean, this is garbage
Sure.
that we're talking about here. But it's
Mm-hmm.
just that idea of we have escaped from the children for a few minutes, and this is just the two of us. And we can talk about anything in those 5 minutes. I mean, we don't even have a planned conversation topic, but something just always manages to come up that we can get done in those 5 minutes.
Yes, and it's funny, and that's just a simple task that needs to be done for your house. I remember when my sons went off to college, they're twins, so they went off together, different colleges, but they left at the same time.
Right.
And so up to that point, I pretty much did the grocery shopping myself. I mean, my husband certainly would stop and pick things up, or he would do it if I asked, but pretty much I was a stay-at-home mom / entrepreneur. So that was usually what I did. I had the most time to do it. And so I remember once when, we both decided to go. He's like, well, I'll come too. And I was like, okay. I mean, and it was in the evening, and we did it. Of course, it was half the time because we were working together. He went to get some things, I went to get the other, and so I just remember after it was all over, it's like, oh, that was nice.
Yeah.
It was almost like a date, if you will. So
That's it. Yeah. Sometimes you just have to make the most of what you can.
right, right. Well, tell us quickly, how did you get into guiding people and couples in their relationships and talking about date night? But I also know that you share other strategies as well.
I sometimes say I fell into this, or I got pulled into it. So,
Okay.
for example, my husband and I, we've been together for 22 years. We've been married for about 13 of them. And we're at a point now where most of, other than our family, most of our friends only know us as a couple.
Hmm.
So we ended up kind of being the the source of how do you do this, or
Okay.
and then when children came along, and yet they would always see us out together doing stuff together. Although I
Hmm.
am a homebody, I always joke that I think my children's school think that my husband is a single father, because he's the one because he's out during the day. If they have any need, he's the one who pops into school. But we genuinely like spending time together even after 22 years. So there was that sense of, well, what are you doing? I have this problem. What do you think? So we would get those questions. Then about 6 years ago, I started doing language acquisition coaching and cultural awareness.
Hmm.
So most of my clients ended up being women who were in relationships with partners from Spanish-speaking cultures. Now, part of my work, I was always very adamant that you have to have a deep motivation for learning a new language. Otherwise, it's just another thing that you're going to do, but you never put your best foot forward.
Hmm.
And when we would get to the bottom of the motivation for learning this language, for these ladies in particular, they would say things like, well, I want to understand his family, or, I want to pass on the culture to the children, which are all good reasons. But you
Hmm.
know what was even below that? They were safeguarding their relationship,
Mm.
doing something to really cement their place in their partner's life.
Hmm.
Or this is what they thought they had to do.
Right.
And then as we would work through we would do, yes, of course, the language and the culture, and then we continue working on the motivation and the real reason behind it. Lots of things would come up. Oh, it's language and culture barriers. But at the end of it all, there were simple male-female barriers, dynamics of being in these relationships, and that were being exacerbated by language and culture differences. So I found myself kind of, doing the same thing that I've been doing with my friends, with my clients. And then eventually I said, well, you know what? There are all these wonderful coaching programs out there. I enrolled in one, and we did all of these different types of coaching and the coaching styles and all of that. And I'm like, okay, this actually is, it was nice to stop putting the titles onto the things that I was doing. And that's how I'd say I kind of fell into it. But yeah, and then even for me, working with my own coach and seeing how much relationship impacted so many different things, I was amazed at how, my little insecurities in certain areas would magnify itself in a relationship. It's like, oh, well, look at that. And there's always something new to learn, and then to be able to apply it when I'm helping others. So that in a very drawn out nutshell is how
So now I've heard parents say, and this happened to us honestly too, that we would go out on date night. We've planned it, we know Friday night we're going to the restaurant, we've made the arrangement, so it is a thing, it's something to look forward to and all of that. And then you get there and you talk about the children or or other things. So what are some pitfalls that you find with couples that initially try date night, and some things that they struggle with? And then what are some what are some pitfalls that you think couples should avoid with date night?
Now, I'll tell you one that I just recently spoke to a client about, and that was using date night to talk about conflict topics or tension-filled topics.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So in her mind, it was very clear that, okay, this is something that we always argue about. So I'm going to create a perfect environment where he'll be in a good mood and I'll be in a good mood, and then we can have this conversation. And I mean, honestly, I just wanted to kind of hold my head in my hands because no, it might sound like a good idea on paper, but let's think about it this way. Why would you take something that's supposed to be a beautiful, fun, exciting experience and then drop a bomb onto it?
Right.
Yeah, no, that conversation, that argument that you've been having for the last year, it does not belong in the date night. Schedule another time to do that. For that matter, schedule a time when you both already in a crappy mood, because you're already in a crappy mood, so you can deal with it then. And I know that sounds like, but no, because we won't be thinking straight or whatever. It doesn't matter. If this is an argument you've been having over and over again, whatever you do, that argument is going to color the event. So no, keep date night pure. Keep date night on easygoing topics. I have recommended that people make a list of safe topics. If that is what you have to do. And yes, reduce children talk. 100% reduce it if you can avoid it completely. But sometimes, talking about our children or the fun things that our children may have said or done, that's actually a nice thing to do. So I don't ever say don't ever talk about the children.
Right.
But if you need to make that list of things that you want to talk about, that are fun to talk about, pull out old memories, pull out things that you want to do in the future. Talk about how your day went when you weren't with the children. Those are the kinds of things. Go online, search up conversation starters. Pretend you're now dating. Ask some questions. Is your favorite color still blue? It sounds weird, but it changes. I never liked pink. Now I have so much pink, and the reason I have so much pink is because I have 3 sons, and I got fed up of seeing blue everywhere. I mean, I would never have bought myself pink things before. Right. But I know such stereotypical colors, but I know, but
Yeah. So no, that's good. There are a lot of good ideas there. Yeah, and you also bring up something else when you talked about the fact that there might be this ongoing argument or this undercurrent that's running through the relationship. So that, date night won't solve everything. So, what are three of your favorite relationship strategies that you like to share with couples? And I know you have a lot more, and I know that it's a lot more complex than that, than resolving when you're trying to resolve issues. But, just something that someone listening here today could hear it and say, I'm just going to try that. Something they don't have, doesn't require a lot of setup, but it's something they could try today. So what are three of your favorite, easy to implement strategies for strengthening relationships? We'll be right back after this. As the saying goes, mother's work is never done, except when it really is. I'm talking about my new book, Mother's Work, Pearls of Wisdom and Gems from My Journey. I share my transformation from an outmanned, overwhelmed mom of twin boys to a parenting strategist and consultant, and being honored as DC Mother of the Year by American Mothers Incorporated. In Mother's Work, I tell you about the 7 guideposts that kept me anchored as I weathered the peaks and valleys of motherhood. Grab your copy at carolmaletta.com/motherswork. And we're back with the Parenting 411.
One is to pay compliments daily. 2 is to say thank you often. And 3 would be to go to bed at the same time regularly. So those are 3 that I would say we could start with. So the compliments, for example. Now this comes from, I've read several different pieces of research around this idea of for all excellent relationships, every one negative interaction is counted by 5 positive interactions. When I read that, I'm like, oh, they mean for every 5 negative ones, you have at least 1 positive. No, it is the other way around. You need to 5 times the positive against the negative. So fine. Well, one of the things you can do is pay those compliments. And again, as many as possible. I like the number 3. I heard Joyce Myers once talk about try to compliment your spouse 5 times a day. I'm like, Joyce, I don't know what you and your partner are doing, but that 5 is a whole big number. But I mean, great, you could have relationship goals. Fantastic. Compliments aren't, you might say, well, even the 3, oh gosh, we work, we're not together. Send a text message, leave a note for them to find. Okay, fine, but I don't really feel like saying a compliment. Oh, I don't know what to say. You don't know what to say, make a list of things so that you can review that. The things you like, love, admire, respect about your partner. That list. But I really don't like him right now or her right now. I don't know what to say. Ask your children, not the teenagers. They don't tend to be very forgiving. Ask the younger ones. What do you like about your father? What do you like about your mother? Add that to your list of things that you use to build your compliments on. Practice it, practice it, practice it. If you're not in the habit of doing it, it's very awkward. But it's only going to get better with practice. And if all else fails, and I have done this one, if all else fails and you really can't get yourself to say the compliments, tell them when they're asleep. You're not going to, at that point, you're not doing it for them. You're doing it for you. You're doing it for you to get the practice in. You are taking action, even though you don't feel like it. Because the bottom line is, very often when we need to make positive changes, we don't feel to make those positive changes, but we know we have to. So that's when it's important to act our way into feeling, as opposed to waiting for the feeling to make us act.
Okay, I like that. I like
It's
that.
yeah.
So
Oh, okay.
no, that was no, yeah, no, that was a lot of wisdom there. Now, how can people work with you? Is it one-on-one? Is it group coaching? Is it online? Is it in person?
Well, it is online. It is one-on-one. I do have something called the 90-day romance restoration blueprint.
Hmm.
And through that program, and it's renewable after the end of the 90 days, we get to that point of creating the supportive, connected, healthy relationship that you want with your
Hmm.
partner.
Mm-hmm.
We focus on things like bringing the fun back, reconnecting with yourself, understanding that you, as half of the relationship, have the power to change your relationship. You know,
Mm-hmm.
there's this saying that you want a new relationship, well, find a new you. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I don't mean that as in something is wrong with you.
Right, right.
It absolutely does not mean that. But as half of the relationship, what are the changes I can implement within myself to be a better person for me, which is going to have a dramatic effect on my relationship because I will no longer be the same person.
Exactly. It's a dance,
It
and you have
is.
to respond to what your partner's doing.
You do, exactly. So through these 90 days, what we begin to identify are, well, what are the areas that I can work on to take my power back and be the partner that initiates this stronger, more vibrant relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the other key part here. Take the initiative.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You have to be in that space where we are not saying, well, I need him to go first, or I need her to go first. It's not you first, it's me first.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, if you are the one who is online Googling how to make things better, how to get him to take me out more, how to stop having silly arguments, how to, get him to buy me flowers again. If you're the one who's crying in the shower, I would say if you're the one crying in the shower because you're not happy with how things are and you want to make a difference,
Mm-hmm.
well then let's start with you because you're the who's ready for the change.
Right, right.
And that's where we start. And
Mm-hmm.
that's how we start to restore the relationship and restore the romance and bring the fun back and build that stable, healthy relationship. So that's what the 90-day blueprint is about.
I like that.
And it's one. Yeah.
Awesome. So do you have anything else coming up? Any speaking engagements, any programs or anything you want to share with people?
I do not as yet. I am considering doing a challenge before the end of the year.
Okay.
But everything will be fed through my Facebook group, which is called Moms, Marriage, and Relationships.
Okay.
So it's that's the group where we do a lot of interactive conversations. When I say conversations, the written conversations.
Mm-hmm.
I do videos and put little tips in there, little suggestions for how to do your date night, how just to improve each day step by step, because that's the other thing. It's a step-by-step process. It's one thing at a time.
So how can people join your group?
I think we can leave the link in the notes at the end, and
Okay.
yeah, pretty much just click join, request to join. Please do answer the questions so that I know you're a real person.
Oh,
And so
so
I
there's
can,
no fee or to join the
oh
group.
no. The group
Okay.
is absolutely free. Yeah. The group is
Okay.
absolutely free. Yep.
Okay.
And of course, people are also welcome to schedule a one-on-one consultation call where we get
Okay.
to the bottom of maybe one issue. We figure out a couple of solutions to deal with that issue so that you can immediately begin implementing them.
Oh, that sounds good. I think a lot of moms out there would love something like that. So how can they follow you on social media? So you've talked about the Facebook group. Any other platforms where they can find you?
Um, Instagram as well, Kim K. De Silva. Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. All right. Well, thank you again for spending time. I think that you have offered some valuable tips and, demystified date night a little bit in terms of, because people hear that and, very often especially when you have young children, you're trying to stay on top of what they need. Then you hear about what someone else is doing. Oh, maybe we should be doing that, and you're just putting a lot of pressure on themselves. So I hope that people who are listening to this will not only have take into account your tips about date night, but also you sprinkled in a lot of other gems too about how you can strengthen relationships and just draw closer to your partner. So, you don't have to try everything all at once, but just try a few things, no pressure. And, as you master and experience good results with one tip, just add more. And just always, because as I said at the top of the show, a loving relationship is a living thing. You've got to keep feeding it. You've got to keep nurturing it. So thank you again, Kim Da Silva. Thank you to all our listeners for tuning in. Remember to follow the Parenting 411 on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, as well as YouTube. And like and share and just subscribe to the podcast. Share it with your friends. And remember that it is never too late to be the parent that you want to be. Talk to you next time.